I am delighted to stay here. I'm invited by Martin Dominic to talk about my studies and vision about the climate change and how the economic system have subsidized the well-being. Because right now I am a member of the IPCC for the next IPCC report, and working on the national and subnational policies on mitigation. And right now this presentation, and I would like to talk about what we are seeing and into the negotiation. And it's very interesting because we are putting on the table a lot of billions of dollars for mitigation and resilience and against the climate change. But the question is, okay, and who is paying for that? And who's the best cause? And if we need to pay for against the climate change, or if we reduce more emissions, could be better than pay after that. So, and as you know, and all economic activities are producing an environmental impacts, and environmental impacts like an discharge and waste disposal, and in my focus is on greenhouse emissions. And so right now the ecosystem are vulnerable for three main impacts. One is the depletion of the raw materials, because we are producing more goods and services than we can consume according to the limits and boundaries of the planet. Two, the ecosystem are the landfill, and the ecosystem are receiving the impacts for and final disposal of wastes and for discharge to the and flow of the water systems and into the air, and the accumulation of the air emissions according for the use of the fuel oils. And right now the ecosystem are vulnerable because, one, for extraction; two, because we're receiving impacts from the economic systems according from the charge emissions and so on. And right now the secondary impacts is the global warming, and the global warming is affecting the natural cycles of the nature. So, and if we think into the production, and starting in 1850 and 150 years ago, and we are producing a lot of the billion metric tons of the carbon to the atmosphere, and this is very, very important to think about, because the distribution of the temperature is changing, and specifically on faster rate, and starting in the 50 and 70 years ago, that right now the chance to the more and more a chance for the extreme events of the temperature and are covered and in 0.1% of the land. Right now, according for this change of the distribution of temperature, is around 22% of the chance to get more warmer days and more heat waves and so on. The changes that we are reporting in different reports, and this is a real and modeling and real changes of the temperature registered and from the ecological systems, and we can see that, and it's evident that the economic system, and right now we are living in the best and in the best and place in the time with the best well-being, but we are and producing the best the main impact for the nature. So the paradox is right now, and we have the best or the main and well-being in the history of the man. Not probably it's a distribution of the well-being throughout the different economies, but with the main impact for the nature. So, and the economic system, and every time and are producing more and more and food oils, and the global surface temperature is changing and is increasing and through the next century. Indeed, every time in 2020, we will have the 72% chance to will be new hottest year. And right now, according for the numbers, to 2021, and will be the most warmer year and in the last century. So this is very important, because according for the NoRCEL last report into IPCC, and is the evidence is right now the climate change is driven by the human beings. So The question is, okay, and if the climate change is driving for the human beings producing the main and greenhouses and gases, the question is who pay for that? If we registered how many years have been the more warming years, and 19 of the 20 hottest years on record have occurred since in this decade, in this and 2 decades, indeed. And the hottest years have been in the last 5 years. And right now the economic system is growing, and every time China is producing more and more goods and services, but nobody's paying for that. Indeed, despite of we are putting on the table in the last Glasgow conference and $150 trillion on the table, and the economic system is not stopping. And the most interesting thing is if you review the difference on school of economics in different universities, nobody, or this is a no issue. Nobody's talking about what is the role of the economy or the economic system to drive the climate change throughout the world. So we need to think about how okay, we have a lot of the new thinkers like Matsukato or Nobel Prizes like Elinor Armstrong about the governance of the common goods, but are the business school talking about the role of the economy driving the climate change? In my opinion, no. Indeed, if we correlate the data about the temperatures and extreme events, we are seeing that every time in the 40 years ago, the number of the extreme events and catastrophes, such as extreme temperatures, droughts, fires, floods, mudslides, and storms, are increasing throughout the time. And the impacts of the risk of the climate risk impacts, finally, is the impacts for the economy is growing too. But nobody is talking about meanwhile, the economy is growing up, the number of the extreme event is growing up too, and it's correlated, and every time we have more and more extreme impacts from the climate hazards, but nobody's paying for that. And who is paying for that? Maybe what people paying taxes, because finally the impacts is receiving into the society, and the government needs to resolve the problems for the people. And finally, how the governments and can get the budget to fight against of this kind of events is just through the taxes. But nobody is introducing this kind of global issues into the economy number one, the first courses of the economy, or in the courses of the microeconomics or on microeconomics. Indeed. And when we talk about the oceans, the changes of the temperature, the energy and accumulate into the oceans is increasing too. And this is a very, very dangerous signal, because we know that finally the oceans are the final destination of the humanity, because it's the main reservoir of the life. But we are seeing that, and maybe the half of the increase of this kind of event and the heat content is increasing starting in 2000. So the forecast for the future is not good. We don't have good news for the future. Indeed, for example, all people know that the Arctic is the main and mirror, and to avoiding the heat transfer to the nature. But what the record data say? The temperature at the North Pole was 50 Fahrenheit degrees and 28 Celsius degrees for us, and it's hotter than normal in February in 2018. The evidence show that in 2000 years we are losing maybe the half of the total snow from the Arctic, and in 1,500 years, and the North Pole experienced midwinter heat waves 3 years in a row, 2016, 2017, and 2018. And the declining ice mass in Greenland is going down every time. This is affecting the ecosystem too, and it's affecting the producing of the raw materials and how the economy is converting that in the goods and services. So we are seeing that the economic system is stopping right now. But in my global south, and for us is very important for the Chilean people, the Antarctic, the Antarctic continent is suffering the same ice loss. And every time we are losing more and more loss. And indeed, in between 2009 and 2017, we are losing 225 billion metric tons of the Arctic. So indeed, according for no registry of the data, the temperature in summer Iceland. This is we have an weather station, and achieve and 69 Fahrenheit degrees in February. Yeah, this is crazy because it's the first time we are getting data over the average of the heat wave in the South Pole. In the South Pole is warming 3 times faster than the Earth has a wall. And what is going on? And it's easily every time we are losing more and more ice through the continent, and we are expecting that in for the 200 and 2000 and for the final century, and maybe the level of the sea will increase between 2 until 5 meters. And for us, for example, for the Chilean people, that we have an 4 of the main cities in the border of the coastal line is crazy, because and maybe Japan and Chile, we are suffering and we are suffering and tsunamis. Yeah, and the tsunamis maybe is not produced by climate change, but we don't know if the level of the sea is increasing. Maybe the tsunami will be more stronger throughout the time, and maybe in our cities we need and try to make it a better planning for the new city in the coastal line. And what is the evidence about that? And right now we have an losing glaciers and in West Antarctica and Antarctic glacier about the size of the Florida. Mainly is a key anchor of the entire of the West Antarctic ice sheet, and it melt completely within a few decades. And what happened with the temperature? Well, all you are expert, you are scientists. How's the temperature is increasing, and we are expecting more and more evaporating more, and water transferred from the fluid and to the atmosphere, and increasing the moisture into the sky. And right now, my issue is the water cycle, and we are seeing that. And we have more moisture into the skies, and we have more and stream in the atmosphere. But this accumulation is producing a strong precipitation in short periods, and we are suffering. And this increasing in the heavy rainfalls is producing or increasing the risk of the landslides and mudslides. And obviously, this is the water cycle is returning the water to the sea, and obviously the level of the sea is increasing too. But what happened in Chile right now, and in another part of the world, like in Africa and in Middle East, that the global warming is increasing the evaporation from the ocean, but we are increasing the evaporation from the land. And this is because in Chile, for example, in the Central Valley, we are suffering the worst mega drought. And starting 15 years ago, and right now we are expecting for the next decade maybe, and we need to cut the water for that. But and this is the NoRCEL registry about the anomalies about the precipitation throughout the time. But now we need to propose for the economic school and linking for this kind of issues with economy, because. And we are scientists, we are analyze data, but the society is suffering the main impacts. For example, how does the climate change affect the water availability? The water we have under reduced supply by runoff, drought, and sea level rises and melting ice, but we are increasing the demand in energy, industry, domestic uses, and agriculture. Indeed, right now, and the water uses is allocated from 12% of domestic uses, so just for drinking of sanitary uses, and 20% of just industrial, and we are not recovering water from them, and 70% around the world is just for agriculture. And the problem is the agriculture is not recovering water for nothing, because you went into the irrigation is maybe the most important and human activities for the world, but the agriculture cannot recover water and after the irrigation. And it's different for industrial system that after the discharge you can recover water by treatment. But what happened with that? We need to produce more food for more people, and we need to distribute the calories, and we need to distribute and the well-being throughout and the right nutrient balance throughout the newer society, and how we can and join and two kind of issues, and shortage of water and food production and the well-being, for example. So and this is the problem, and we are using water for people, crops, energy, industry, and animals, and we are affecting the food production, connecting the water cycle, global warming, and food production and society. That the food production is affecting the nutrition, is affected by storm and flood, drought, disease, and you know that we are increasing the number of the disease, and according of the changing of the temperature, heat, pests, fires, water availability, and safety. And this finally, this kind of impacts is affecting the health. How it affected the health? Easily. The health is interconnecting food, extreme weather events, infectious disease, water, mental health, allergens, heat stress, and air pollution. According to the impacts, and the main impacts are received by the nature, and we are growing, and our economic system is growing every time, and nobody's paying for that. Indeed, despite we are putting money for resilience of the ecosystem, we continue growing through the time. The problem is the social impacts. This is Belo Horizonte in Brazil in January 29 in 2020, and at least 50 people was killed in flooding and landslides in Brazil. This is Norberto de la Riestra in Argentina. Los Amores in Argentina received the year's worth of rain in 1 week. The flood in Argentina were in 2019 the first $1 billion weather event. First $1 billion water. It's a lot of money. Cordoba, Argentina is in October of 2017, and a precipitation bomb dropped on 4.9 feet of hail in 15 minutes. Asunción de Paraguay, this is the global south, and in May in 2019, this is my country, Chile, and 5,000 people were housed in 23 shelters that have settled unaffected areas. This is Talca in Chile and in Central Valley, and 170,000 people without power and drinking water for the time. This is the Lake Chad. This is a simulation, and in Africa, the depletion of the water reservoirs. We have migration right now from the people living near. This is the Lake of Armenia. This is and the pictures from the Google Earth, and you can see the changes between 84 and 16. This is the dams El Yeso in Chile. The up photo is in 2016, and below is the 2020. This is the main reservoir for the capital in Santiago de Chile, where we are living, and 5 million and 80 million people. But in the global south, for example, the soil erosion, for example, from the conventional tillage is at least 10 and 20 and x higher than the soil formation. So we have every time more soil erosion and to produce food. And in Krakow, in Poland, in parts of the Poland and Romania, the drought is the worst in a century. In Czech Republic is the worst in 500 years. But this is the evidence in Simferopol, Crimea, and in 2020, in April, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, the water in Simferopol was only available morning and evenings. Okay, this is Loire River, and in France, in some regions, citizens were cut back on essential water use, for example. 1 year ago in Jan in Vancouver, Canada, we get on 46.6 Celsius degrees, or 116 Fahrenheit. This is in Germany, in Colonia, and in July in 2021. So the people have died for the landslide. Or China. This is Jiangsu, and at least 33 people have died and 8 remain missing in the central China, and losing 190 million of the economic damage. And this is the impacts from the level of the sea. The coastal towns are already busted for higher storm surges, indeed, and we are seeing that different docks throughout the world, they are suffering an impacts for the extreme and wave and the fires. This is Turkey in August in 2021, and 160,000 hectares forest at border. This is Limni in Evia, Greece, and wildfire forced hundreds to escape to the Greek island by the sea. This is a Reuters information. And Siberia in July of 2021, that the local fears of the health property. So we are suffering that. But if we are seeing it, and if we are thinking into the economy, the question is, okay, what is the kind of what kind of infrastructure are suffering the higher climate risk? The higher climate risks and from extreme weather are dams, flood barriers, storm drainage, sewage system, roads, train tracks, airport runways, building foundations, power plants, power lines, aqueducts, drinking water systems, bridges, agriculture, oil and gas pipelines, and communications. So if we has Al Gore, for example, said, and what is the real cause of the carbons that we are not stopping in this kind of system is a lot. We are suffering a cost of carbon in the political instability, because right now we have the evidence that we are suffering more and more impacts due to the extreme events, and the cost for the society is increasing too. And right now, as you know, the government needs to increase the taxes, or how they can manage the budget to reduce the risk. The problem is right now is producing a political instability. In different regions of the world, we have a correlation between climate change impacts and governance. Indeed, according for the last studies from the people for the social science, there is a correlation between governance, instability, and impacts of extreme events. What the literature say, if you have a government independent, is democratic or not democratic. The governance is independent of the political system. If you have high inequality, if you have a high inequality income, the governance have risk. If the risk is increasing, according if this country is suffering more and more climate change impacts. Okay, the costs of the cost for the economies are flood, wildfire, drought, storm, and so on, and much more. Indeed, according for the Global Bank, the climate change impacts is the first threat for the global economy, but the impact will be different. We will have differential impacts according to different part of the world, depending if you have more vulnerable countries or not. You are vulnerable for the climate change. So finally, is the economic system. This is just one example that we are suffering in the global south. And you know, in the Chile is a mining country. Yes, it's true. But the mining companies is exporting mineral and metals, but it's just producing just maybe 1% of the employment. But the agricultural activities is producing maybe around between 7 until 14. And total employment in Chile, therefore, and the agricultural activities is more important than the mining activities, and it's unbelievable. And in the agricultural activities right now is suffering a mega drought. We are producing less vegetables, and the food budget for the people is increasing the cost. And right now we have a very high problem for the food supply chain. Indeed, the cost of the food and vegetables in Chile maybe is more expensive than in Europe, or maybe is more expensive than in United States. Indeed, if I was visiting Glasgow for the last COP26, and maybe if you buy a kiwi from Chile there, has the same price that the price in Chile. So the question for the economic system is why 1 kiwi or 1 kilogram of the Chilean apples and have the same price in Europe and in Chile? The question is, we are subsidizing the price for the global north. And right now, the environmental cost and the social cost and the nutritional imbalance of the disruptor food supply chain, we are paying here in Chile. And finally, you are not paying nothing from the final destination of the products. The question is how we can make the balance into this interconnected and economic system to try to reduce the subsidies between countries or between the nation. So this is the food surpluses and deficits, and here you can see the North America has a surpluses and South America too. But the problem is in Central America, Sub-Saharan, Western Europe, North Africa, and Asia. And this is because in the Central America, Africa, and South America, maybe we are exporting and more products for vegetables because the final price is better in the global north and not in the global south. So, for example, the avocado, Chile is very famous because we are exporting avocados, and it's very good, yes. But the final price maybe is better in Europe and but not in Chile, and maybe just in Chile the people just who is eating avocados in Chile, just maybe who can pay for that, and maybe it's the rich people. So we are suffering an economic inequality, and right now we are suffering an nutritional imbalance inequity too, because right now, if, for example, in the global south, the people living in the middle class and the low class, if they want to access for the healthy food, maybe they need to pay more than the rich people, and so we are increasing the inequality in different social classes. Finally, for the question is, okay, on who is paying for that? How we can reduce this disrupted food supply chain? How we can reduce the inequality of the nutritional imbalance through the world? And it's just the economic system. And for example, this is a small cases. I told you, and every time we are increasing the food prices in South America because the best prices is paying for people in Europe. So the farmers decide to export the food and products because they can find better prices and maybe in Europe and in the global north. So here the people is paying more and more and more and for food, and the people are suffering nutritional imbalance. And the problem is that the nutritional imbalance is affecting the health. Every time we have more and more young kids with diabetes type 1, and the age of the diabetes type 2 is reducing in 2 decades. What's the means that right now, and young people in the early 30s and 40s, they are debuting with the diabetes type 2, increasing the cost of the health system. So we are connecting climate change, food productions, nutritional imbalance, and diabetes type 1, diabetes type 2. What are the solutions? Okay, the economic system needs to change, and we need to recognize that the nature is subsiding the prices and for the food and the services. 2, the distribution of the subsidy is different if you are producer or if you are consumers. This is in the global south, maybe we are paying more, and for that we need an agricultural revolution, we need an industrial revolution, we need an digital revolution, and finally we need a sustainability revolution to reduce the cost for the nation and distribute the cost of the final products and services equally through the world. Finally, and this is because right now the United Nations is promoting Race to Zero. The idea is reduce the green emissions, because if we are making the right accounts, is cheaper, reduce the emission is cheaper than pay for the resilience. If we save the nature, maybe the cost for the society will be reduced mostly than we would pay after the impacts. This is my final slides, and I would like to say thank you for the invitation, and I really apologize if my English is not perfect, because I am thinking in Spanish and English, And now thank you for that. And this is my research about the global cost, and if about the policies is reducing the cost, and who is receiving that, maybe the people. And the final message is the nature have subsidized the price, and the cost of the production is not equal for the war. Maybe the exporters and the global south is paying more for that, and we need to introduce these kind of issues into the discussion for the School of Business and Economy for the next years. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience and time.